Hey, hello everyone. Namaste. Welcome to the short answer. I'm Dr. Sue Morter, and for those of you that are joining us for the first time, welcome. What we do inside the short answer is cut straight to the chase and give you some ideas that will allow you to perceive life from a different perspective on an ongoing basis so that you can consistently, ultimately, always be up-leveling your vibrational frequency, literally living from the highest self perspective in your life. So if you'd like to know more about what the highest self perspective in your life is all about, that is what I teach inside of the Energy Codes coursework that is based upon the same information that my book, best-selling book, The Energy Codes, a 7-step system to awaken the spirit, to heal the body, and live your best life is based upon. This information is all brought forward from the past 20 years in my life after an upbringing inside of energy medicine, and energy medicine being the only medicine, the only healthcare practices that I've ever engaged in, being raised in an environment. My father was a pioneer in that arena and raised us accordingly. And so on top of that, 20 years ago, I had a life-changing experience in meditation, and a byproduct of that was I turned my life into a living laboratory so that I could start to reproduce the experiences that I was started having inside of a meditative state. Being focused on healthcare and helping other people, I always was translating this information in such a way that I could share it. It's my greatest passion on the planet, and I welcome you here in the short answer as a complimentary contribution to the community that we might be able to come together in radical healing this evening, but to come together in common theme, in like mind, in unity consciousness, that we can heal ourselves, awaken to our power to do so, and ultimately, of course, be available for others. Because once we are out of our own survival physiology, we immediately, inherently are interested in sharing that, interested in weaving it together with others and infusing it into the course of our lives in ways that changes life's perspective, changes what the movie that we're creating even looks like, that we're walking through. I study quantum science and I make it user-friendly. I study epigenetics and the bioenergetics of the human system, and I break it down to practical application so that we don't only have the information, but because of my clinical experience, I'm very interested in you benefiting from the information that science is bringing forward to us. And so I'm always thinking of ways to share with you how it looks when you're actually in the quantum flip, how it feels when you're actually living from the inside out. How do you know that it's happening, and how do you know when it's not? And what do you do in the moment that you catch yourself not in it, in order to return into the state of consciousness that we truly are meant to be living in, and that the personality is constantly striving to find. So here, in the short answer, we get to dive in, short and sweet, and give you some ideas. If you're not part of our Gold membership, I do want to invite you to join us after the short answer in the masterclass, because what we do in the masterclass is receive all sorts of questions. I draw pictures on a flip chart that represent the questions and then weave them all together in a tapestry that allows us to realize that the questions that we have, people around the world have, and that there is a common ground solution, that if we all start paying attention to life from that perspective, we each contribute to the answers instead of finding ourselves as part of the problem. So there's so much that I love to share, and there's so much here for you. If you're stumbling upon us for the first time, please know that your entire life can be guided by these principles. They are eternal, they are universal, and they are ancient in their origin as far as written human history goes back, based upon the Vedas and the hieroglyphs in ancient Egypt and a multitude of other traditions and civilizations right up to modern day quantum science and bending space and time to our advantage. When we truly know that the facts of who we are and how light and energy and form and breath and love and consciousness work together to generate healing, radical healing in the body, everything begins to change. We're no longer afraid. We walk as a creator instead of a reactor or responder. And that's my joy in life, is to share that with you. So before we jump in, I have a couple of announcements I'm supposed to make. So let me see what those are. Okay. Oh, yes. Coming up this weekend, I have an introductory course that I am offering to people that are just joining us into the Energy Codes community. And it is about radical healing. It is about learning how to heal yourself now. And so in the midst of that, we are activating you right into your own self-healing techniques. So that is this Saturday and Sunday. If you'd like to check out some of the content and just who I am and what I'm all about, I'm also offering a free webinar between now and then that you can certainly join us in. It's called The 3 Secrets to Activating Your Self-Healing Superpowers. I do some superpowers, a series of different webinars throughout the year, and this one's about self-healing. So it's tomorrow. In fact, perfect timing. That is March 18th, and it is at 5:30 Eastern Time. And I'm making that available for you to tap into the top priority that your body is trying to work on for healing and why the body doesn't heal and how you can do some immediate things to turn that around. So that's happening. And you can go to www.secretstoselfhealing.com. secretstoselfhealing.com. So the link is in the comments below for you for that as well. All right, so also, something that you might be interested in, I'm also doing tomorrow, big day tomorrow, is the free, it's the Body Awake membership, Body Awake yoga classes that I am offering that allow you to learn how to anchor consciousness in the body and to do so while you're on the yoga mat, moving the body in certain positions and breathing at the same time in a way that allows an integration of energies such as what we're looking at right here, to flourish in the body and to express outwardly non-stop. So you might want to join us. That's at 11 o'clock Eastern Time. You can join by signing up for the Body Awake membership. That link is in the comments below also. Or you can go to www.bodyawakeyogamembership.com. So it kind of is what it says it is. bodyawakeyogamembership.com, and join us there. So those are some biggies that are coming right up. We also have a yoga teacher certification. Not that everything that I'm teaching is about yoga, but I have to tell you that when you have a real instruction about what yoga is meant to be, even if you've never been on a yoga mat and you're not comfortable in all the bendy, twisty, pretzel-y kinds of positions, don't worry. I want you to know that you can breathe in certain ways and put your body into certain positions all at the same time in such a fashion that you start the healing, the innate healing energies, innate intelligence that is attempting to do its thing all the time, but we unknowingly have been interrupting it and thwarting its flow. Also, next Wednesday, March 31st, last day of March, is a free monthly healing transmission. Next Wednesday, last day of March, free monthly healing transmission. You can go to www.monthlyhealingtransmission.com, and that link, of course, is also in the comments beneath us here right now. So in these programs that I'm teaching, literally thousands of people from around the globe are coming together and holding space, holding unity consciousness, but also learning how to not only tap it, but to tap it from within and to connect it with a grid work that is here for all of us to be a living, breathing part of. We are here to reassemble, to reunite, and to bring our consciousness fully flourishing through this body and out into the world. A byproduct of that is we heal. A byproduct of that is that we heal. So if you've been interested in healing something in your life and you don't seem to be able to get that thing happening, there's a reason for that. I'm going to explain that in the webinar tomorrow. I'm going to go into it in detail in the course Heal Yourself Now this weekend. And it is my intention to capitalize upon the fact that we are all home and in a state of stillness that we perhaps haven't been in maybe year, maybe ever in your life. And the reason that I want you to capitalize on that is that I know that it's happening for your highest good. That we've been sheltering at home and that we've been isolating and social distancing and doing the things that we've been doing. It's not supposed to be working against you. And if you've been interpreting it as such, then there are some additional pieces of information that I'd love to add to your repertoire of ways to perceive life and to understand what's really going on. I'd love to put you in the driver's seat and allow you to recognize that you are empowered, not only to participate in this life masterfully, but to transform your experience or your idea of what this life is all about. It is truly here for you to create upon. It's not something for you to survive. It's not something for you to overcome your past story and to try to deal with building new habits and new ways of believing. It is so much more than that. You can approach life from those perspectives and you will certainly up-level your life experience. And I'd love for you to understand that there is another version of you altogether that lives beyond the believing box that we've been living in, that lives beyond the symptom chasing that we have a tendency to be surviving in, barely, in this world, the way that we're living in it. Because along the way, some things have gotten forgotten. They've gotten forgotten. And so we want to remember them, to put them back together again. So radical healing is about just that. As a starting point, and it's a radical starting point, but that's what we're doing here, right? Radical healing tonight. So in this radical starting point, I'm going to invite you to look into your day tomorrow, your day today, as it is happening already or has happened just upon you. Perhaps it's evening where you are. Perhaps it's just getting started where you are. And what I would love for you to do is have an agreement with yourself, to truly look into the day with this perspective. What if every thought that I thought and everything that I observed was actually trying to get me to notice how I perceive life? Do I perceive life as a victim? Do I perceive life as some, as most people that are perceiving life as a victim don't walk around saying, I'm perceiving life as a victim today. I'm not, I'm a victim of life. Nobody goes around saying that. And when we point it out to people, they almost always say, I'm not a victim, I'm not victimized by this. But if you're bumping up against something that keeps you from being joyful and loving and having an engaging interaction with people that is based in trust and faith and hope and belief and expansiveness, then there is a part of you that is hooking in to something that is disempowered. Somewhere in there is the idea that I'm not the one creating all of this. And if we have an understanding of the quantum self, we really begin to realize we are creating it all. We're holding on to ideas that were misperceptions from 20 or 30 or 40 years ago, and we're holding on to them unknowingly. We're living inside of a box that they're creating, and we're trying to see our way through, and it doesn't work very well. We try to do the things that we're supposed to do, and we try to eat the things that we're supposed to eat, and exercise the amount that we're supposed to exercise, and get the amount of rest that we're supposed to do, but something's just not coming together. The reason that it's not coming together is because that one that I'm talking about, I'm talking to right now. That one that I'm referencing that is victimized or disempowered or doesn't have any idea about its true capacity to generate a life experience. So I'd love to invite you into welcoming it up and out of you. So I've been in lots of courses, teaching lots of courses in the last year online. I've seen tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people show up in one form or another and asking questions about what am I doing wrong? And I thought that I was getting along pretty well and it was going pretty good, and then all of a sudden, bang, I'm just flat. I'm flatlined, I'm splatted, I don't know what's next, I don't know how to engage my creativity and feel like I get a handle on top of things again. And if you were truly seated in radical wholeness, a place in which radical healing happens automatically, if you were truly seated in that oneness, in that unity consciousness, you would not be asking, what am I doing wrong? You would be knowing that there is a divine right timing, there is a divine right energy that is rising in me, and if my mind can't think of the solution that I think I'm supposed to come up with in a moment, there's a reason for that too. If the mind isn't coming up with the answer, folks, it is because it isn't a job for your mind in that moment. How do we know? Because your mind can't come up with the answer. So if your mind can't come up with the answer, rather than you thinking, what's wrong with my mind, or worse yet, what's wrong with me, meaning we're identified as the mind and enmeshed in it so much that we can't even get a handle on training it to behave differently. Instead, it's just controlling the scene from its own perspective. So if that's happening with you, there is a good reason, and it's because the amount of circuitry that you are running on electromagnetically, energetically in your body, and the amount of circuitry in your brain is not hooked up and abundantly hooked up enough for you to perceive life from a different perspective. And if all of those circuits were in place, you would be noticing, if you can't come up with an answer or you're feeling uncomfortable, there are two simple things that are happening. For example, radical healing would have you say, if I can't come up with the answer, apparently it's not time for the answer. And I'm not going to push the river. And I'm certainly not going to put pressure on myself and cause this system to behave as if something's wrong with it, because that's completely not true. So why would I do that to this system when I agreed to come in here and steward the divine as who I am, what I'm made of, and bring it out without interfering with it? When as soon as I start self-judging, I start interfering with it. It's never going to happen under those conditions. So my body starts to collapse, the energy gets blocked, I start increasing pain patterns, and diagnoses show up, whether it's headaches or asthma or allergies or digestive issues or an immune system suppression or you name it. And even more serious conditions as well. Chronic degenerative diseases, arthritis, joint pain, inflammation, an inability to sleep, an inability to have energy and vitality to get through the day. All of those things are a byproduct of what I'm talking about, and so much more. If you are in pain, then what I am saying applies to you. Whether it's emotional pain or spiritual pain or physical pain or a combo platter, a combination of many. All of this is simple evidence that we are not choosing to see divine right, space, and time. And we're going against the grain, and we're putting pressure on ourselves. And that pressure keeps the squeeze on this system and doesn't allow this divine energy to flow through it and express outwardly into the world. And so, if that is happening with you, or if you're having a difficult time believing that while you were doing so well, and then you hit this wall and now you're flatlined, isn't also a part of exactly what's supposed to be happening, then you are caught up in what I'm talking about. So radical healing is the absolute knowing, which may have to start as an absolute insistence for the persistence of love to be here, for the persistence of love to stay top of mind and to be ever present in my ability to interpret what's happening in my life. And if I'm unable to do that because I don't have the circuitry in place and I'm not grounded enough in this body to stabilize my ability to translate life from that perspective, then I start assuming that something's wrong. And it's either me, or it's you, or it's my luck, or it's life in general, or it's all of humanity. And we start backing out of a true role as creator. We start backing off of our true destiny and our capacity to have the life that we are destined to have, built to have, supposed to have. So how can we insist on radical healing? A number one thing that we can do is insist that everything that is happening is truly in my favor. And instead of having a knee-jerk reaction and trying to get about changing it and making, the seas part so that people will see it your way or behave in a way that makes you feel more comfortable, I just want to invite you into taking a deep breath in your belly and just allowing a few seconds to pass before you say anything or think anything or do anything. To just be present. Because in that presence is radical wholeness. And when you engage in that presence, radical healing starts to take place. You stop the knee-jerk reactions and the patterns that have been plaguing your life with misfortune or a lack of an ability to maintain loving relationships or a lack of an ability to heal in your physical body. You might not realize the direct relationship between the energies that we produce through the thoughts that we think and the feelings that we dwell on and our vital health at the cellular level or the systemic level. And there is such a direct connection, they actually never should have been separated in our educational system. And so quantum science is allowing us to put that back together again, which is why I'm holding the course that I'm holding this weekend and the webinar tomorrow and doing the things that I'm doing along the lines of Body Awake Yoga in a constant fashion. And the Energy Codes coursework, for goodness sake, that you can jump into to learn about these things. Because you're supposed to be the bringer of the wholeness. You're not supposed to be seeking the wholeness. Now, I'm not saying if you're seeking, stop seeking. I'm just saying learn how to start practicing finding and having and knowing and allowing and breathing life into your wholeness instead of insisting upon your incompleteness. Because the only thing that is incomplete is the thought process that says there's something wrong with me or there's something wrong with you. Neither one of those thoughts are a complete, holistic-based idea. If they tend to run through your mind rapidly and radically and consistently, it's a circuitry issue, and I'd love to teach you how to build more circuits along those lines. So, in the meantime, take a deep belly breath and just ask yourself, do I really need to bite in and change the course of this conversation to prove them wrong or to make my point? Or could I just breathe some space into this? Because in the midst of breathing that space, eventually the curiosity will be about what I do think, what I can contribute. And the answer will be evident, and it will be whole, and it will be based in love, and it will be based in the healing vibration. And when we step into life to chart our course and to make decisions about our work or our relationships or our lifestyle, our decisions are going to be based in something that is true instead of something that is a knee-jerk reaction. The moment we start one knee-jerk reaction and it takes us into a place, every single experience that we have, and therefore every decision that we make from that point on, is also based in fear, because it's all been compromised. So I want you to think about that. Things happen the rest of today, things happen as you're falling asleep tonight, things happen when you get started in the morning tomorrow, and just ask yourself, am I interpreting what is happening? Or am I even interpreting what I'm thinking about from a perspective that this is good for me, it is serving me? Not that I have to learn to just deal with the pain, but that I need to shift my perspective and look at it from a different perspective and a different perspective and a different perspective until I can find a perspective that isn't painful for me. The chances are you will be recalibrating your perceptive field in such a fashion that the distortion is dismissing itself. The distortion is perfecting itself. And suddenly you're actually seeing life the way life was intended to be seen. If you are caught up right now, like so many people around the world, about how people are going crazy and there are two polarized circumstances and groups of people and ways of thinking, and each side thinks the other side is crazy and a mess and needs to be stamped out or changed or fixed in some way. You're caught up in exactly what I'm talking about. And literally, no matter how empowered you feel in those thoughts, you're disempowered. Because the true empowered version of you is going to see that everyone is right and everyone is in their own evolutionary process of awakening to wholeness. And when you can learn to love into, with great compassion, into circumstances that you are not interested in loving into, when you can learn to train your mind to allow that for just an instant to be a possibility, you'll actually be stretching your mind field out toward the 0 point field, out toward the quantum field. You'll actually be stretching your existence into a greater sphere of engagement. And inside of that greater sphere of engagement, wholeness resides. Radical wholeness resides. Healing resides. Radical healing is a byproduct of you just loosening your grip on what you think has to be happening in order for you to be okay. Because the highest self version of you knows that that is all a play. Maya. It's an illusion. Avidya. It's delusional to think any other way. But that's why we come here. We come here to change the way the mind is utilized. We come here to refine the mind, to teach it, to see from a bigger perspective. So, as a short answer, Might you find one thing to love into in this next 24 hours that you have not been willing to love into? Like the more you resist it, just pick that one. Just see if you can open your body. See if you can open your solar plexus, open your heart, open your throat, breathe in your belly, and open yourself to the possibility that whomever is hurting others because of their beliefs is in more pain than you're in. And if you can just hold them in compassion and breathe, and hold their feet to the fire in joining you in unity consciousness, we will see a different world. We will see the world differently. And a byproduct of that is that the world will transform. It has no choice but to change, to follow the pattern of your own thinking, your own disposition. So let love lead for radical, radical healing. Take a breath before you think. Take a breath before you move. Take a breath before you say a word. And allow a sense of presence to create some spaciousness for some radical healing in your life. We do this together. We have thousands of people around the world planting a coherent seed. And in the midst of that, we make a difference in our own lives and in the lives of each other. So join me for the masterclass. I can't wait to see the questions that come in and how we weave them together and have a fantastic time exploring the sciences and the spirituality and the traditions of multiple civilizations that have been on this planet, and right here, right now, how it applies to your life. I look forward to seeing you in just a few moments. We'll be starting at the half hour. So we're 25 after. We'll see you at the half hour for 60 minutes of the master class. Blessings to you all. You'll see the link for that in the chat as well. I'll see you in just a few. Namaste.